Luca Nation. So we were having a little bit of a sat fest on behind the scenes, and I wanted to kick off today's episode because I think we're going to carry that vibe onto the show today. And
how can we not?
If great spirits.
If you're not watching on YouTube, you got to check this thing out. Even if you're normally not a YouTube watcher, he's taking a big swig. He's the first one to drink out of a jumbo-sized bottle today. Not me. It's Andrew. Don't choke. You have to check out the scenery behind this guy, right? I guess, as I like to say in our earlier episodes, the Federalis closed in on his prior location, and he has moved. And it looks like he is. I mean, is this the Garden of Eden, or is it the garden right next to the Garden of Eden? He's got the beautiful blue turquoise water directly behind him. Like, you just step out there, do some yoga, like whatever you like to do, have some avocado toast out there on the water.
Probably at the same time. Yoga. You got to understand, Cage, I don't want to live here. The reason I choose living by the beach is because now the Federalis have only one entry point to get me.
Oh, nice.
You can't come from them. That's the reason I'm here.
So do you have like a little boat out there, one of those little pontoon boats or something to escape from the Federalis right there?
You can't tell, but right over there, it's just this little cliff down. I just
jump over.
Just jumped on.
That's it. You hear them? You got the first, you see how many there are. Because there's enough for you to take. You grab your machine gun, you say, okay, you want to play rough? No, you don't have to. No, if there's enough of them, you got to jump. You got to jump off the cliff. I get you. I understand. It is gorgeous. I don't know. This is new scenery today. Well done, my friend. You are living the life that that we all wish to one day attain. So congratulations. What's top of mind today besides your hair?
What's top of mind? I'll start with something positive. Something I noticed in the last month. So.
Shoot.
I mean, if we go back just like 2-3 months, the market was falling, and we were all kind of turning on each other as a hobby. Everyone was calling each other out, and it was just a little bit of a negative vibe. If you guys remember, April, May, June, and I don't know what it was. Was it record sales? Was it national approaching? It was probably a combination of the two. I feel like July, the hobbies kind of come together and realize that we need each other to grow and be successful. And if it is national that's brought us together, I guess, I think that's pretty cool that we've done that, and we're collaborating on different businesses that seem like competitors are even open to working together. Content creators who normally would be like, well, I have my audience, you have your audience. They're working together. Slab Stocks created that amazing charity drive, which raised over $100,000. That was people that, in theory, were all competing against each other for a moment, for a week, for a month. They came together for a bigger cause to grow the hobby. And whether that was national or not, I would say it's great that we have these events, but let's try to even carry that through national and make that a little bit of a part of our culture, of our hobby. And I think if we do that, our long-term prognosis for the hobby, our long-term potential is through the roof. If we're all fighting like cats and dogs, I think that just shrinks our upside. So that's kind of what I've actually been thinking about and noticing the last few weeks.
When the water's really cold, that's what shrinks my upside usually. But I get what you're saying.
You're not an ice bath guy.
I don't like going to cold water. Forget about it. It's cold. It's cold. It's cold. That's the excuse every time. So,
but you're a big guy. Aren't you normally really hot? Like, would you rather be hot or too cold?
That is what the ladies say. You're right. Thanks for pointing that out to our audience. Yeah, I am always hot. This is true.
I'm always sweating. Like, I just went for a run, and I've been sweating for 25 minutes.
I sweat when I sit still. You sweat when you run. I get it. I'm the fat guy. It's fine. We move along. But listen, to your point, I appreciate it, and I think you're right. When Lamine is poking good fun at Rips and at Slab Stocks and at me and at the other hobby participants, and everybody's looking forward to something, it is a much better community, right? When we're not trying to eat each other alive. You know what I mean? There's no cannibalism going on here, And maybe that's the national. Maybe it's the prices starting to perk back up. Maybe it's just, all of the stuff going on in the space. That's good, right? It is a good thing. And look, to think that the market is always going to be going up is kind of silly, right? It takes its pauses. You said this back in like April and May. Like, this is a healthy pause. It's not going to be a forever thing. And I'm like, well, it could be forever, and it doesn't look like it's going to be forever. So, I guess a little bit of patience, a little bit of bigger picture. I like it. I like a little positive.
And I'll go one further on it. It's a quote I've used before. It's when you're feeling helpless, be helpful. So like when the market's just going down faster than you can imagine, you feel helpless. You're like, I'm losing money. I don't know what to do. You feel helpless. Be helpful. So another thing that's really positive is how card porn has been interacting with the community, right? Mm-hmm. Like the little F1, you know, the pump and dump, right? So we call each other out, but what was different about this call out was it felt to me in good fun, right? So they turn this thing where it's like double coverage is going to make card porn is going to make Anthony the lemon of the week. And if you guys don't know, double coverage are friends from down south. So they named someone a lemon of the week. Cade was the lemon of the week for making fun of LeBron. I was a lemon of the week for making fun of Cam Johnson or something. I don't even remember, something so irrelevant, but no big deal.
I don't think you got it. I think you were close.
Okay, I was in contention.
I think they were thinking about doing it. So if they gave you lemon, I would have to get like watermelon or koala of the week. Like we can't both be doing it. It's not a participation trophy. Go ahead.
The point is, card porn was like, I'm going to make Anthony the lemon of the week, but instead they had some fun and they turned that into a giveaway for the community. And little things like that, it's like, okay, we could call each other out. And it actually brings me to my next point, because I wanted to talk, like, we say pump and dump all the time. But, like, I think we could all agree, if we're being objective here, that sometimes we don't know if it's promoting or pumping, right? Like, and what's the distinction? And Cage and I even had a little bit of a conversation about that this morning. And Cage had a great point. It's, I don't want to steal words, but it's the intention. It's where it comes from. Yeah. So,
it's difficult to measure it, though, right? I think it was Plunge Father, who we had on the show, who I saw a tweet and I was going to respond and I just didn't. So I guess I'm glad you're bringing it up, because it'll be easier to explain rather than tweeting. His was more of, I think it was, what's the difference between shilling and marketing, right? So, and obviously the point there is, you know, pump and dumping, right? And, you know, my response to that would be, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. My response to that is, it really depends on your intention at the time that you make the statement, right? And unfortunately, those statements are looked at in hindsight. Those statements are looked at, you know, by people who don't know what your intention is. But if you're making a statement and saying X, I think this is undervalued, right? Let's use Gary's Giannis plays, for example. I think that Giannis at $300 is undervalued. He's a great player, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards, right? If when he made that statement, his intention was to make that card go up to $1,000 so that he can immediately sell his stuff, that's pumping and dumping. Like, that's shilling is a word in the you know, the NFT, you know, the avatar world, right? So but he didn't do that, right? He didn't do that. He was actually pointing out, here's a card I think is valuable. Here's a card that I think is you know, is worth investing and is underpriced, right? And I think it's more marketing. It's more, you know, market evaluation or whatever it is. It's, you know, it's pumping without the dumping. You know, it's informative, right? It's, you're trying to say, hey guys, you know, I'm looking at the fundamentals in this, and Giannis at $300 or $350, it's a steal. It should be worth more. But then what happens, right? It becomes worth more, right? You know, so now is it, you know, can you really sell? And your intention at the time was not to make it go up to that price. Your intention was to point out that this was, you know, that this was a valuable commodity that was not getting the attention that it deserved. Whether it's an NFT, you know, whether it's a cool cat or a bored ape or whatever it may be. The tough part about it is, you and I will never know the intentions of the people who are out there. You know, you just have to basically hope that people's intentions are good, realize that there are some people out there whose intentions are not good.
Take ownership. Here's a key one. It's always, at the end of the day, your money, your call.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, we're all hobby participants here. We're all community participants. And, you know, I hope to be, you know, doing this until I'm, you know, you can basically bury me the day after our last podcast episode, right? Like, I want to be doing this, and then, like, in the middle of a YouTube live, Coffee with Kate, be like, you know, more soda, you know, like, that's and you can't do that.
You're still gonna have such a beautiful head of hair.
It's beautiful, isn't it? So you can't do this, right? If you're playing that short of a game. So yes, while it's your money, right, you can't value your money short term over your credibility and your name long term. There are people who do that and they don't last long in this very small community. I don't care how much it grows. The hobby is such a tight-knit and small community. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows everything that everybody does and has done. And shit sticks with you. So even if there's a chance to make a little bit of money now, I like to say that's penny wise and pound foolish, right? Because that making that little bit of money now is going to probably prevent you from being in this long term and making big money. It's, what's that saying, right? You're stepping over dollars to pick up nickels, right? So that, keep that in mind, right? When you're doing the stuff that you're doing. We try to be as transparent as we can. I'm going to give a play today that I really want to buy myself, but it's a card that there's not a lot of out there, and I don't want to be driving up the price on this stuff. I don't own one. So I'll give the play. I'll let you guys get it, and then maybe a month or two from now, after you guys have all had your ability to get it, when it's probably gone up a little bit, I'll go out and look for one for myself, or maybe I'll try to find one at the National. Who knows? But I'm gonna give a play today that I'm actually pretty excited about, and I don't own one, so I really want to own one.
Let's go right into your play. But guys, why I brought up that topic is I want to hear from you. I want to hear from our listeners. What definitions are really important, right? Especially when it comes to nuance. What do you guys think? What's the difference? What's the difference between pumping and dumping and promoting marketing? So let us know. One more announcement, and Cage will get right into his play. Guys, the Fantasy Football League is filling up quickly. It's been, 12 hours, 14, 20 hours or so since people listened. I think our 2 leagues are just about full. We're going to start filling up the 3rd league. So if you guys want to get in, just let me know. Send a DM to Luca Tiger LeBron Podcast or send a DM to I Am Andrew Goldberg, and I'll get you in. Go ahead, Cage. Go right into your play, my friend.
So my play piggybacks on your Giannis play, right? And it's funny, there are probably people out there saying, man, I should have listened to Andrew and bought that Giannis at $1,200 because it's clearly more than that. It went up to $1,800 before it even won, and now over $2,000. Ian brought his PSA 9 that we graded ourselves to camp. And I picked him up in camp, and they had it in the office, and they're like, his counselor recognized how much this was worth and took it away from him. And I'm like, what fun is that? He wants to show it to his friends, right?
Mind if I ask you something, real quick, if we go into this?
Shoot.
Does Giannis become the face of the NBA, whatever that even means?
You know what? The NBA has enough faces. I don't think there needs to be a face of the NBA. And I think it's going to switch time over time. For right now, yes. The champion has the ability to claim that they're the face of the NBA. There are other players, LeBron, who's also still in the spotlight because his movie happens to be out at the same time as Giannis is making this run. Luka, Trey had a great run, although no one's going to ever consider him the face of the NBA. Durant had a good run also. There are a couple people who can claim it. But yeah, right now, he's one of the young stars. He's got a huge future in front of him. He just won a championship in his 7th season. He's got all the personal accolades and now a championship. So yes, if you ask me who's the face of the NBA right now, it's him. But 3 months, that can change.
And you know what? It actually brought me to it gave me a good thought. You don't need one face of the NBA, and no league will be successful with one face. So it's kind of a futile discussion. Like when we talk about MLB having a face of the MLB, well, they should have 30 faces and promote all of them. So they all have their fan groups. So that's it. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's the faceless folks, like in Game of Thrones, which you never watched or read. So I was about to make a joke, saying that there's people sitting out there who said I should have listened to Andrew and bought that Giannis at $1,200 when Andrew gave it as a play. And it's funny because Andrew's sitting there saying, I should have listened to Andrew and I should have bought them. But the fun part is my play is a legit flip side to that play, right? So there were people who were buying Giannis, hoping that Giannis would win the championship and that he would win and that the cards would go up, and those people are right. And I think that those people are going to take that little bit of profit, and in a week, 2, 3, you'll be able to buy Giannis cheaper than it is now. So that's fine. The flip side to this play is, what if the Bucks didn't win and the Suns did? And there were people who were banking on that, right? There are people who are banking on what would happen to cards if the Suns won. And there are Booker holders, and you gave Booker as a play. But there's another guy that I think is probably even a safer play because of his quote-unquote legacy and his longevity and the whole deal. It's Chris Paul, right? So there were people who were buying Chris Paul hoping the same thing would happen, that his cards would see a bump after the playoffs, right? And that if he won a finals finally, that would cap an amazing career, a Hall of Fame career, and he'd have a championship trophy, you name it. You want to take a guess what the Chris Paul 2005 Topps Chrome PSA 10 number 168 was selling for in, let's call it June, right? Let's say middle of June into July.
$1,275.
Okay, so there is a several auctions at 1,500 or higher. All right. Plenty of them in the 1400s. Buy it now as high as 1600. I see 1525, 1475 right around the first week of July. I see an 1870 buy it now on the 4th of July, which is pretty much its high. It's a peak. But after that, this 1525s. So it was regularly over 1500 throughout the end of June into early July. Has been at 1400 and change since then. You want to know what one sold for? I mean, it's come down a little bit, but you want to know what one sold for on July 22nd, yesterday? $701. $700.
And
right?
that might even go a little bit lower, right?
And it may go a little lower. And so here's the fun, right? I look back. So it's one thing to say, okay, people were buying this, as the Suns were running to the playoffs, and it's worth, steaming up. But I decided, let me look at what it was selling for in May, right? Let me do the research for you guys, because if it was $400 in May and it's $700 now, then come on, that's kind of silly. It's got room to go down. So I wanted to see, what did it sell for in May, right? So I look at May, and it auctioned on May 17th, $1,350. May 31st, $1,237. It's been over $1,000 the entire time. The first time this has dropped under $1,000 is that auction that just happened, right? In the last week, there are a couple 800s, and now you see this one that's just over $700. And here's the fun, right? Just as there are people who are now going to hold on to their Giannis for too long, and they should sell it now, and in 2 weeks when it starts to creep back down, they're going to regret not selling it. So I should have taken my profit. I thought this was going to go to the moon. It's not going to go to the moon. They should take their profit. There are people on the other side of the equation who are going to oversell Chris Paul. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to bid on it, and I hate to do this because it's going to be like, one of those things where now people are going to be, I'm going to cause a bidding war in our guys. Probstein has 2 ending 3 nights from now at the exact same time. Literally 2 auctions ending at the exact same time. They're like $300 right now, right? So again, I think I just helped whoever the sellers are on those cards, because obviously it doesn't have to be that. There are plenty available for $9.99 or best offer, right? So it's already, you can get it right now if you want to click for under $1,000. I think it's going to go down into the 6s. I think Andrew is probably right. I think more of them are coming out of the woodwork, but it's not a crazy high pop card. It's one of those cards where, there is going to be this slight dip, but I think it moves back up because it's always been over 1,000. And really what you're doing now is you're getting an overreaction, just like I think the Giannis is an overreaction to him winning. I think that, go ahead.
Are you worried Chris Paul's the best loser of all time, if that makes sense?
Well, I would say no, right? So what happened this year was, while he made this run, I think that Chris Paul got a lot more notoriety than he had previously had. And Chris Paul's always been one of those guys that is what could be. Yep. If he's healthy, if the Houston team had a healthy Chris Paul, if this team had a healthy Chris Paul, and you saw a healthy Chris Paul in the playoffs this year, and he was pretty good. You know what I mean? He was pretty good. They went pretty far. They were up 2-0 on the eventual champs. He had some good games. And the best part about this is right. So think about this. He's not Luka. He doesn't have the upside of Luka. He doesn't have the the craziness that's there of Luka, right? But right now, his card, it's approximately the same price as a Luka Prism-based PSA 10. Maybe you might be able to get it for less. Now, we talk about all the time how there's 17,000 PSA 10 Lukas. You want to take a guess how many PSA 10? I know this is a base card, and this is part of what we talked about yesterday. This is a base card. You want to take a guess how many PSA 10s there are of this card? The 2006 Topps Chrome PSA 10 card number 168.
Is it 2005 or 2006?
2005. I'm sorry, 2005. Yes. My apologies. Because it's 05, 06. I always confuse it, but it's 05. You're right. Thanks for correcting me.
I can't imagine there's more than 700.
250.
Wow.
Only 250 of them. So when we talk about base cards, like, oh, they're so high pop, right? 250. That's nothing. That's nothing for a surefire Hall of Famer. Andrew was talking about what team he might go to next year when we talked earlier. Who knows? He might not stay on the Suns. You never know. And if he does, come on, they're going to be good again next year. I mean, making the finals, who knows? But to me, you see this card was, 1,400, 1,300, 1,200 in May before he had any of the success. That's what it should go down to. It should go back down to 1,000. It should go back down to 1,100. It shouldn't be in the 7/6s. And it's one that I think you're catching right here. And boom, I think it's going to be an easy ride back up. And if you buy it in the 6s, it goes up 50% when it hits 1,000. You made 50% just when it goes back to 1,000, not to 12 or 13 or 1,400. It doesn't have to go back up to where it was in May. So that's why I love this card. That's what I mean. And we talked about exits yesterday. This is one that if I had in my PC and in my basketball collection, even if it stayed at 6 and change or went to 750, and I was like, I don't want to sell this now. This is one I would not mind just hanging on to. Because he's going to be a Hall of Famer. It's a card that's only 250 of. It's a card that should stay in somebody's basketball PC as one of the modern great ones. So
I love it. You think he stays on the Suns?
I do. I think he does. I think he stays on the Suns. There's a good young team there. I think Booker can improve. I think that that organization can sell him on the fact that they could get back to this, and that they were this close to getting over the hump. Of course, a lot of teams are going to make up ground on them next year. Things broke right for the Suns this year.
They definitely did.
But I mean, I think you can make it a legitimate argument that you're going to see improvement in Ayton. You're going to see improvement in Booker. Those are young guys that don't have huge money commitments. Not Ayton doesn't have a huge money commitment right now. Maybe they bring in somebody. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they bring in one other person, and that helps put them over the top. But they're a clear top half team in the West, even without that. So what team do you think he goes to? What team do you think he can go to? Somewhere in the East?
There's always speculation that someone's going to team up with LeBron, but it wouldn't make sense for him to go to the Lakers. LeBron needs a shooter. He needs shooters around him, not another point guard. We saw how well Dennis Schroeder did, and I don't know how much Chris Paul, other than in the locker room and leadership wise, is an upgrade over Dennis Schroeder. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where. New York could be cool. Maybe New York would be interesting.
It's a step down, though. If he wants to go someplace where he's going to win, I don't see him going anywhere unless he partners up with a LeBron.
Philly,
you know what I mean?
Philly would be really interesting.
Philly could work. Philly could work. That could be. But even that, I don't know that's a real step up in the. I mean, look, getting out of the West is easy, makes it easy. But
that's actually a smooth transition with Doc Rivers. So, or maybe he hates Doc Rivers. Who knows?
Anyway, whether he stays or he goes, I think at this price, this card's a no-brainer.
Agreed. I'll get into my play, guys. If you guys saw me looking down, I got to tell you, Cage, people at $100 price point, I didn't know how many people would be joining the fantasy football league.
I told you we're gonna need 100 leagues. Because why not? It's fun. It's $100. People love fantasy football, and we're not going to become a fantasy show, guys. We're still doing our cards, but we're going to work in fantasy. We tried to with our NFL previews, try to work in fantasy with the cards and how to make. We'll continue. To do
I
that.
live in fantasy, so the show and Cage bring me back to ground.
You do. Look at that background, man. That's definitely fantasy.
I'm going to give you guys 2 plays today. Both of them, I like my new thing that I'm doing, like the 1-star, 2-star, 3-star thing. These are both going to be 1-star plays, okay? First one is James Wiseman, okay? I think, there's a lot of things. I don't think last year's draft class is going to be as bad as they appeared last season. LaMelo had a good season, but other than LaMelo, it was a drop-off from the last 2 years. But I think that has more to do with the players weren't in the right spots to succeed than the players aren't talented. If you look at Wiseman, he's a super, super talented guy, and his cards are selling dirt cheap. So that's one guy I would look at because, one, he could get traded, but two, I do expect, and I don't know if there's a team that does a better job at developing players than the Warriors. If he gets traded, that's a bump in his cards. If he doesn't get traded, I expect him to have a much better year next year. So that's my 1-star play. Okay?
People forget he played at Memphis, so he had 1 year of college, but he played 2 games. Right? He wound up being disqualified from playing. So he had no real – he lost a whole year, basically. He could have come straight out of high school. He was a top prospect, the whole deal. He was a high draft pick. He's still a project. He's still very young and very raw. And I think you're right. If he stays there, he's got some real value because they will get the talent out of him. And if he leaves, that's always the cause for the card prices to go up too. So there's a couple ways for his cards to increase. Next.
Now, do you buy it's weird. This year's really weird to buy this year's rookies because you kind of are like raw. Okay, I buy a raw card, but you buy raw with the sense of grading. But where am I going to go send that into grading? And I don't want to buy Prism PSA 10s yet because the pop is so low.
Yep.
even if I'm buying the right player, I could be super right but wrong, right? So do your own research. I do think that there is some value in buying raw numbered versions of his cards, like out of 199 or out of 99, for a few reasons. I think people got to the point with him where it was a little bit expensive to grade cards.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, this out of 99, I'll just hold it till PSA opens back up. Some people sent them to HGA. I think sending it to HGA is actually a great move because of the color match.
Yep.
I would take a look. I think there's some opportunities to buy silvers, blues, reds, numbered parallels of this guy in a raw condition that might be gradable.
Really, before you jump into pick 2, it really is amazing how different the world of collecting is today than it was a year ago. And who knows what it's going to be like in 1 year, because you're 100% right about Wiseman. I opened 1 box of Prism basketball myself, and Wiseman was the one that I was like, do I send this over to Star Stock or do I send this in for grading? He was like the one that straddled the where do I send this to grading. And what's funny is I finally, guys, a card sub I sent in August. I don't have it back yet, but I got that it's finally being shipped out of PSA. So August, right? I looked at it. It was 106 cards, and I got the credit card bill. It hit my credit card today of how much it was, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be expensive. It was $900 and something because it was $9 a card to grade in a bulk sub when I sent it in August.
Now that's 4 cards at National.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that it was $9? And we were. I mean, that's done. And wouldn't Wiseman be a no-brainer if you pull a Wiseman out of a pack and send it in a bulk sub for $9?
1,000%.
That's a very big change in what's going on, and we could spend another whole episode on how that impacts breakers and all that other fun stuff. But I don't want to take it away. It's just
Well, I'll tell you. You guys probably heard me. I've never complained about how the market's changed, and I made all my money on a different market in a different market. You just have to adjust. Okay. This is a new game. Now, how do you play it? I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of base cards, raw cards of Wiseman at National.
You know where I would go with Wiseman also, besides National? Star Stock B.
Interesting.
Right? Because those are at a bargain price. And if he does well, they will go up. You know what I mean? And you're holding them now, and you sell them when the price goes up, when there's either news on him or he starts to play well in the coming season, right? I think that's an easy way of buying his cards, raw cards, that are probably available at a discount right now. Just a little different way of going.
Next guy. I like this guy a lot. I don't know why he doesn't get more love, more attention. People say he's an injury concern. I think he's going to be a top 3 big man in the league 1 year. And it's Jaren Jackson Jr. I really believe it. I believe in Jaren Jackson. And I think his cards have been beat up unfairly to his potential. You think he's an injury concern. I hear you. But he's 21 years old. His game is dynamic. He could shoot the 3. He could post up. I think he's a better defender than people realize. I think he's got the tools to be a defensive player of the year type of guy, because he's not just a block guy. He gets steals too. So I could see him averaging 3-4 blocks a game, 2 steals a game, and he's going to pad the stats. I think he's the best player on this Memphis Grizzlies team, and I've been interacting with some people in the comments. They do as well. So some people are starting to notice he hasn't done anything. But to me, he's not in the same boat as like a Marvin Bagley, but his prices are almost the same as Marvin Bagley. And I don't think that that's fair. So whether we go base with him, but I would just buy his PSA 10s, whatever your price range is. Honestly, someone like him, like I'm looking on eBay here, the out of 75 purples, 2,500 are best off. What's amazing with guys like this, and I always love this, you could go shopping is what I call, right? Some guys that are in high demand like Giannis, you can't go shopping because while you're shopping, his card's going to be off the market. But guys that aren't being looked at, if you go, this is a good way to actually check this. If you go to eBay and every single high dollar listing is or best offer, you know that the sellers are looking to make a deal. Oftentimes sellers just put a buy it now. When every single card of this guy is buy it now or best offer, to me that's an opportunity to go shopping. So I would go shopping for some of his, whether that's a base, his base cards are like $50-$60 Cage.
Yep.
Or that's like a blue, a purple, a red. You could get a silver for under 500, 600. Here's one for $9.99 or best offer, but that's quite high. Here's $675 or best offer. Here's $650 or best offer. $650. I would take a look at him, man. I expect a big season from him. And even if
you always have, you stick with your guys. You always have. And I only say injury risk because he got injured and it took him longer than I would expect to come back. And sometimes with big men, injuries like that, it takes longer to come back. But he looked like he was back. I mean, he was playing pretty well. He didn't really get into the flow towards the end there. You expect to see 1 or 2 big games out of him. My concern with him is that, it's Ja's world. But yeah, I mean, he's 21 years old, man. He's 21. Right? He's a young kid, and he's got a whole bunch of upside. He shoots the 3 real well for a big man, which is huge in today's game. And he plays good defense. At the prices you're talking about, very little downside.
So here's how I would word it. His talent is 3 stars. I don't know his mindset, right? Like, who Giannis is at this point, right? With guys who haven't played a lot, you don't know how they're going to deal with adversity. So, like, this is something that concerns me, why I chose to only make it 1 star. McDonald's All-American in 2017. Big Ten All-Freshman team. 3rd-team All-Big Ten team. Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Big Team All-Rookie First Team. 5-star recruit across the country. One of the best, 4th best at his position, 7th best nationally. When you come out of high school, you have all these accolades. You play 1 year in a great school at Michigan State. You have all those accolades, and you get to pros, and you kind of stumble. You know this in life, Cage. There's a fork in the road.
Yep.
You go right, and you're like, that's not going to be me. Or you succumb, and you're like, wow, I don't know how to work hard. I don't know how to overcome adversity.
Right, because you never had to.
Because you never had to. And you see a lot of people, a lot of players kind of fizzle out. I don't know. So that's why I'm hesitant, but I know his talent is through the roof.
I'm surprised, man. Given these 2 plays, 2 1-star plays, recent basketball plays, I was expecting Tyler Herro to make a comeback to the pod. Maybe next week. Maybe from National.
I ripped the Tyler Herro silver in my NFT pack today.
Maybe next time you will. Maybe at National you'll bring back the Tyler Herro play. This was a fun one, guys. I'm looking forward to National, man. I really am. Yeah.
Look at a picture of Herro, man. He's Chris Paul's stature, more frail, unathletic. It's going to be tough. Like, it's tough. He's a great player, but he sprung onto the scene and no one expected him. Now everyone knows what his game is, and they're just not going to let him beat him athletically. Like, he's athletically one of the worst athletes in the league. Can't defend. Can't really run the point that well. He could shoot pretty well, but he lost a little bit of that edge. That's why I can't make him play. I love Herro. Wish him all the best.
I love Herros too. Usually with like cheese and roast beef and all kinds of, maybe some bacon on it. Maybe some Chipotle sauce, like a little Southwest. It's good
roast
stuff.
Beef sandwiches, roast beef sandwiches are interesting. They come and go out of like popularity. At one point in our family business cafe, one of our most popular sandwiches.
Did you do it fancy? Did you do like a French dip? Did you do it on like a Herro, like dipping in the gravy?
We have a Chipotle dip. We were at a cafe, a little boutique cafe, but I loved it toasted with Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. That used to be popular, like in the early 2000s. But then remember, like there was like the kick of health, and that wasn't the most healthy. Like, and there was like the red meat causes heart disease thing, and people stopped.
I'm screwed already. I'm screwed on that already.
That might just be marketing and promotion. Who knows?
Well, listen, guys, we're looking forward to National in a couple of days now, and like seeing all the cool content out there. We're adding people to the National Live group every day. I added some folks this morning. So if you're listening to this, and you want to be added to the group, it'll be a fun way to track where everybody is, what everyone's doing. We can include you in whatever it is we're doing, and be able to chat with you while we're there. Fantasy, man. Keep bombarding Andrew with those messages that you want to play fantasy, because the leagues they're going to be legit. And I told Andrew my strategy already this morning. I'm drafting only Jaguars. And he yelled at me and told me not to make a mockery of it. And I said, okay, I won't. I'll draft some.
Our buddy Jimmy Guns is going to join.
Really? Cool. Why not?
He reached out on YouTube.
Let him in. The more the merrier. We got plenty of folks here. Maybe it's a separate league just for guests. The guest league. Folks who have been guests on Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze. The guests can play against each other. Who knows? Just ideas. Luca Nation,
it's incredible the support that we have with our projects. I can't believe it. I really can't.
There we go. Listen, we love each and every one of you. We'll talk to you soon.